So good afternoon, everyone. Once again, we are meeting for meeting etiquettes. We're meeting for meeting etiquettes. That's rhythming. Okay. So I would like to start today's session telling about one experience. First time when I went to the West, I went to Phoenix in Arizona. That was my first visit to America. And this was sometime in 2005, if I'm right, something like that. Yeah. So I had gone there for an implementation of Oracle in one American Express bank, and so I went with my vice president. So I was a program manager in that project, and he took me to this foreign office. Right, the first time I'm getting into IT. I mean, like a foreign company in the foreign country. Always have seen foreigners coming, and I've been working in different projects from offshore, but for the first time in a foreign office. So the first thing that I did is when we were getting to the lift, right? So we had to go to the fourth floor, and I went to the lift, and right after the lift opened, I started walking in. Right, I just started walking in, and immediately my vice president stopped me. Hey, wait, Lakshman, you're not supposed to go in. You have to wait for the people to come out. Right. So that itself was a big culture shock for me. Oh yeah, that makes sense, right? So people, when the lift stops, they should come out, and then I should go inside, right? But apparently I was never taught that aspect. Being in India, we generally don't care. I want to get into the lift. That's it. Like when the bus stops, you don't wait for the people to come out, you just get in. As long as you get in, the target is achieved. I don't know how many of you have had that experience, but that was the first time somebody was telling me that that act is wrong, and I realized that it is actually wrong, right? So there are something called, yeah. Am I audible? Am I clearly audible?
Yes, Lakshmi.
Okay, I'll just mute some of you or not. Okay, yeah. uh, so what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends, is there are some etiquettes that we think we know but we don't know, right? And as long as we are open to learn, that there are some things which are the areas in which I can improvise. There is always a great vast scope for us to become a better person, right? And there is nothing to be shameful about it. There are so many mistakes I did, as a youngster, as somebody who went to foreign countries, interacting with them, how to address them, how to understand their way of functioning, right? The way you function in Middle East is different from the way you function in America, is different from where you function in United Kingdom, and even within America, the East Coast is different from the West Coast, right? The way people, what topics they like to talk, how they talk, and even within India, why to speak about foreign countries? When you go to a North Indian office and a South Indian office, it's a very big difference. I used to work in Delhi. I was managing a project for American Express in South Delhi, and completely different crowd. Same, we are the same Indians, but the mannerisms, they want us to be in a certain way. I had to adapt to that, right? So being part of this, today's meeting etiquettes, I don't want this session to be like sit straight and understand how to conduct a meeting. We all have done. We all have been doing meetings, a lot of meetings, right? But I'm trying to share my experience here, right? I want to share some, blunders that I might have done, or blunders that you might be doing, right, unknowingly, as part of this. And I also want all of you to share your experiences. Through experiences, we can make this session more applicable, and more interesting as well, right? So I'm going to speak some industry standard procedures also. At the same time, in between, I want you all to share your experiences. Is there a good deal? Can we do that? Yeah, next 1 hour, you all are going to share your experiences also, and I'm also going to share some things that I have learned myself. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Yeah, so here is the poster that was made for today's session. This brief write-up, I'm going to read. Please stay focused on that. A meeting is an event where key stakeholders make decisions, right? The success of the meeting depends on how it is scheduled, organized, conducted, and concluded. A meeting can be on-site, off-site, in person, or online. The organizer should know what he wants to achieve and how he wants to achieve it. The seminar aims at making one ready to organize both formal and informal meetings at the workplace, right? So let's go forward. So I would want to define, wait a second, I think did I miss a slide? No, I did not, okay. Yeah, so we are going to discuss about importance of meetings, types of meetings briefly, and essential principles for that, and parties to the meeting and their significance, individual parties, and wrong actions in meetings and their consequences, pre-meeting, during meeting, post-meeting essentials, right? We're going to discuss that, and 10 tips for effective communication in meetings, right? And we'll also have a quiz. Also have a quiz for all of you, like a brief workshop. Actually, this can be done in a much nice way when we do it physically, but we can try to do it online. You know, I'll put up a quiz and you have to answer what is the best answer there, and we'll conclude. Okay, so let's go ahead and do I have meeting etiquettes? Let's find out how much meeting etiquettes each one of us has, right? So always remember that, you know, the need for having this seminar, there has to be a requirement, and we should be a clear objective of why we are conducting. This is also part of meeting etiquette, right? So I would wish all of you in future, when you make your presentations or when you're planning for a meeting, you can write these two things down: requirement and objective. It sounds more like IT project, first phase and second phase, but that's not the point. The point is, why are we even having this meeting etiquettes seminar, right? What is the requirement? So in brief, what brought the change, right? So basically, I'll just read it out and then I'll explain. In order to scale up the growth, organizations have divided each function into several sub-functions and have standardized them to perform more effectively and efficiently. So earlier, everybody used to sit in one hall. Now it's all divided into different departments, right? Because they want to function effectively. One task is now divided into several subtasks, and each is assigned to a separate department. This is to ensure maximum utilization and zero wait time, right? This is how all the organizations are functioning today. Now, operations are spread out worldwide in different time zones, making work continue round the clock, right? So this is also a new scenario that has come up, right? For example, we only had companies which are at one country centric. Now we have multinationals. So obviously, you know, people are sitting all over the world in different time zones, right? Now, another requirement is ability to collaborate with different teams, utilize everyone's time effectively, interact minimum personally, and generate maximum output. That is the need of the hour, right? So this is the requirement now. Now that we have decentralized, now that we have standardized, now there is again a need to collaborate. And we have to utilize each other's time very effectively. Like when I'm coming to you, I should know why I'm coming to you. And when you're coming to me, you should know why exactly you're coming to me, right? So that is a requirement. So our objective in this seminar is explain the various kinds of meetings today and their importance and importance of meetings in today's corporate environment. What is the importance of having a meeting in first place? To introduce the best practices to be applied, right? So now let us get into, wait a second, I can't see this first thing. Yeah, communication skills empowerment. So where does this meeting etiquette fit into the overall communication improvement, exercise, right? So I want you to closely understand this tree of communication, right? We will be going through most of the seminars in all these areas, but I'm going to tell you where this meeting etiquette falls, right? So language skills, verbal and body. Now, for anything, you need a passion, right? A passion to learn. For even if it is communication skills, you need to have passion to learn. And in your communication, there has to be clarity, consideration, completeness, consciousness, concreteness, and courtesy, right? All these are essential stem, of the tree of communication, right? And on top of that sits the faith and trust. If the person doesn't trust you, if the opposite person doesn't trust you, you can't communicate. How many agree with this? No matter how good communication skills you have, if the opposite person doesn't trust you, nothing is going anywhere, right? So this is your communication tree, and then it again spreads out into two sides, right? So one side is about the oral communication, presentation skills, meeting etiquettes, wrong messages and big damages, Eastern words, cross-cultural communication, documentation skills. So if I see these 7 seminars, we are going to be doing the 7 seminars in the next months. Today we are covering one of them, right? This is the topic we are covering today, meeting etiquettes. But there is going to be a separate seminar on oral communication skills, presentation skills. How do you make a PowerPoint presentation or any presentation for that matter, effective PowerPoint presentation? Then something like Eastern words and Western meanings, like what you think, what they feel, what you know, can all be different, right? You have to understand that. Then cross-cultural communication, documentation skills, like that. So I'm going to mute somebody. Yeah, I think Rajiv, can you mute yourself? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so some of the communication skills are about success in projects. At your delivery level, you have to find success, right? So these communicate like oral communication, presentation skills, meeting etiquettes, they will make you succeed in the projects. There are also some communication skills like language skills and cross-cultural skills, which will help you in good relationships. This also leads to success in the projects, but they are more centric around relationships. In this seminar, we are going to deal with meeting etiquette. So within the communication tree, I wanted to show you the bigger picture first of how much we all need to improve in what all areas we need to improve. And there is different pockets of seminars on each one of them. We are only going to cover one of them today, meeting etiquettes. Okay. And all other branches we'll be dealing with in the future, as I said. Now, are you all with me at this, on the same page? Or any questions at this point?
No, till now it was very good.
Okay, right? Okay. So you understood the communication tree, where all you're supposed to improve. And we're going to deal with one of the facets now. Okay. So importance of meetings. Before I say what is importance of meetings, what do you think? Are meetings important? And according to you, how important are meetings? Just feel free.
So just to get a proper vision of that actual objective, so we need to conduct a meeting for that. We can get a actual mission on vision.
Yeah. Anybody else?
To share things, to share thoughts.
I can do my work, right? Why should I get into meetings? I can do my work and send an email. Why should I get into a meeting?
To share thoughts and express feelings.
Yes.
Take everyone's opinions.
To take everyone's opinions, yes.
To understand each and every challenges.
Yes, to understand challenges ahead.
So group communication improve like ideas. It will come with new ideas.
Ideas, yes. To understand different perspectives, ideas. Yeah. Ask people what they feel. Yes.
To make a better decisions.
To make a better decision. That's a very good one. Yeah, I was waiting for that. Ultimately, meeting has to lead us to a decision, right? There is a goal for every meeting. So we want to make sure that we get the decision, a mature decision coming out of that meeting, right? So importance of meetings, quickly, all your answers are right. So what is a meeting? In simple words, it's an assembly of people for a particular purpose, especially for a formal discussion, right? Formally, I mean, there are informal meetings also, which we'll also discuss, but mostly formal discussion, with a single purpose. What is a business meeting? A business meeting is a gathering in which purposeful exchange or transaction occurs among 3 or more people with common interest, topic, or problem, right? So there is a problem, you all come together. There is a common interest, you all come together, or the topic, you all come together, and it's done formally. That's a business meeting. Now, what is the etiquette? What is the meaning of an etiquette, right? Etiquette is nothing but a set of customs, formal governing rules, which are socially acceptable for polite behavior in society or particular profession, right? So, see, if we don't follow a certain etiquette, there is a problem that the opposite person may not understand what we are speaking, right? Or he might misunderstand our behavior, right? So there is etiquette in the office. There is etiquette. You don't run in the office everywhere, right? You just walk in the office. That is also an etiquette, right? Unless there is an emergency, right? There are some things you do in the office. There's some things you do in the home, right? So there is a whole aspect of behavioral pattern that we follow at different places. That's called an etiquette, socially acceptable, right? So what's the loss without etiquette? You limit your potential, you risk your image, and the relationships also can get damaged, right? When you don't follow an etiquette, when you don't follow a certain acceptable way of behavior, right? So what is a business etiquette then? So simply it means the maximizing your business potential by presenting yourself favorably, meaning you know how to do a business discussion, right? So when you get into a business meeting, you have a book, you have a pen, and you have something to share with the opposite person that he can review. When you go to a meeting, you take printouts and you go, or you send the email in the beginning and go, or you have a projector on which you're going to present. All these things form part of your etiquette, right? To make yourself more potential. Your chances of achieving the goal out of meeting are higher when you follow it. So that's called as a business etiquette. So here there is a nice quote by Lombardi. His quote is, winning is not a something sometime thing. Winning is not a sometime thing. It's an all-time thing. You don't win once in a while. You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all the time. Winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. So this quote actually explains us that the way you conduct meeting is not like, today I conducted a good meeting, tomorrow I'll not conduct a meeting well. No, it's not going to be like that. You have to conduct all your meetings in the right way, and it becomes a habit, right? When you start conducting meetings in the right way, it becomes a habit. So you have to develop those skills through which you are able to maximum achieve, out of those meetings, whatever that you conduct. Let's go to types of meetings, right? I'm just going to hide this panel. You can see, yeah. So types of meetings and essential principles. So can anyone tell here, what are the types of meetings? Types of meetings, just think out of the blues. What do you mean by types of meetings? Formal meeting, yes.
Private meeting.
Private meeting, yes. Anything else that comes to your mind?
Official.
Official, that's kind of formal is another word for official. Yeah.
Casual meeting.
Casual, that's unofficial. Yeah. Just think about, okay, I'm going to give you the types of meetings. These are barely, they fall into these categories, right? So review meeting with superiors, or a team meeting, or a elevator meeting, or a lunch or dinner meeting, brown bag meeting, or a virtual meeting, right? So what are these meetings, right? And what are the essential principles? Let's go with review meeting with superiors. I'm going to show you one. Remaining ones, I want you to answer, think and answer. So review meeting with superiors, usually 30 to 60 minutes meeting. That's what we do, right? You also go to your superiors for a review meeting of your work or project work or your appraisal or anything. It's basically 30 to 60 minutes time, and whole performance will be reviewed. Whatever that you've done will be reviewed. Most critical meeting for gaining credibility. Yes. Full preparation is required to conduct. You cannot go there and sit and say, sir, I didn't have time to prepare, but anyway, you review whatever you have. No, that's not going to work. So you have to be fully prepared, and all parties are informed well in advance, right? Your superior, you will tell that, tomorrow evening we are meeting, or your superior will tell you that today afternoon we are meeting. So it's more formalized, right? In the same way, can anybody tell about team meeting? Some of the essential principles of team meeting.
Team building.
Yeah, team building or team meeting. Yeah. Okay. What are the essential principles there? How long do you think a team meeting generally is you should schedule? Like if you have a team meeting, how long you should schedule?
Or depending on team, or it can be for long as well.
Exactly.
How
It can
many
be
people are there?
generally, universal pattern is not more than 90 minutes. After that, you lose the, the strength of holding people as a team. So 60 to 90 minutes. Now, of course, large number of people are participating. And generally, this falls into the project kickoff, review, go live meeting, plan changes, etc., right? And agenda is kept a little open. A team meeting should never be conducted with firm agenda for all the time, right? For example, you have a team and you're calling them for a meeting. You want to discuss some important things. That's good. But you should also give some time, budget some time where you're just going to talk, right? You can't see the team meeting. Okay, point number 1 to 5 over. Okay, let's everybody disperse. That's not a way team meeting is conducted, because team meeting also deals with relationships, right? Team meeting also deals with understanding each other. So that's one of the essential principles that always keep the agenda a little open. Have you seen team meetings conducted in this company? Yeah.
I think this is a team meeting.
This is a training. This is a little different. Like, for example, how many of you attended the previous open house kind of a meeting conducted by Satya, Pawan, and everybody?
Yes, I'm attending.
How long was that meeting?
90 minutes.
60 to 90 meetings. I think somebody is on. Yeah, there is a background. If you have a background there, you can unmute, but again, mute immediately. Yeah. So was the agenda open or it was like totally firmed up? Did you all get a chance to speak?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes and no. Let's be open.
Yes.
Yeah, some of you did get a chance to speak. Yeah. So actually team meeting means you should give an opportunity for others. That's the success of that meeting. Team meeting is not about, okay, let's get the things done. No, that's one side of it. But the biggest side is relationship building, right? Team bonding. All happens during a team meeting. Now, how many of you have heard about elevator meeting?
I think you already said in the previous call, I think Lakshman sir only told about elevator meeting. Like it was like from when you are going with a client or someone in the elevator, you just give a small explanation or a little shortcut to your project or introducing yourself like that.
Yeah. See, I'll tell you, everybody on the call, you should learn the art of elevator meeting. And I'm going to tell you, this is going to really make you successful in life. A lot of us don't know how to conduct a, elevator meeting. A lot of us don't know. We think that we know, but we don't know, and how important it is. See, there are different times when you have some problems which you want to discuss with your superiors, right? And I'm not talking about just your manager. I'm not talking about manager's manager. Sometimes like a vice president or a president of the company or chairman of the company is in the elevator, and you are also in that elevator apparently, and you happen to be that only two of you are there, and he asks you a question, or you want to inform him something, right? How much time do you think you have? You hardly have 20 seconds, or sometimes even 10 seconds. 10 seconds is the time that you have. In that, you have to pass on the message very, very clearly, or you have to answer his question very, very clearly. For example, if he asks, how is it going? Right? Now, you can say it's going great, it's going okay. Or you can choose to have an elevator update in such a way that it grabs his attention, and he says, I'm interested to know more. When the elevator comes down, when he's getting down, he says, okay, I'm interested to know more. So you can create kind of a inquisitiveness by your answer. You can say, something like, yeah, the project is going really great, but there are some things you should know. Just that's it. And the elevator stops. And he says, really? You have something to tell me? Why don't we meet some other time, right? Or it might even be a decision that you want out of him on the spot, which can be taken, on the spot. Like you can say, can we go? The project is going great, but I think we need an outing also, like a project outing. And immediately the elevator stops and he says, okay, so what is the outing about, right? So there are so many things you can communicate in elevator update, even to a customer or your superior or your, but a lot of people, they do a mistake. They don't know how to do the elevator. They give a long update in the elevator, which is not going to work. Because these people, especially when you're talking about seniors, their time is very limited and they are already booked for many, many things. Whatever you need to pass on to them, it should be crisp, clear, and you should be able to plan it well in advance, right? So elevator update is a skill actually. It can even be a hallway walk, right? For example, you're walking from here to the gate and you happen to be with some very senior person in the organization and you want to speak something. So you should know how to handle the time, and how to go about it. Are you all understanding what I'm discussing?
Yes.
Okay, this is a skill you should learn. How to tell the same thing in short sentence, how to tell the same thing in long sentence. Both the things are very, very important, especially when you are dealing with seniors, including customers, of course, right? So let's go to the next one. So elevator meeting, usually it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes also is actually a long time. Sometimes you get out of the elevator and still continue talking, but the maximum time that you get to spend with each other is 2 minutes. mostly unplanned for both the parties, should be prepared with most critical item, right? You should know if, see, when you're in a project, you should know in advance, okay, if I am going to meet this person, I'm definitely going to check on this, right? So you should know mentally in advance that some things I need to ask from a certain person, right? No scope for detailed discussion. Don't get into metrics. Don't get into details of the problems, right? Just explain the problem statement very, very clearly. And toughest meeting type, but the most important. Among all the meeting types, elevator meeting is the most toughest. At the same time, it's the most important, right? If you know how to handle an important person for a short period of time, exactly utilizing his time, then you will be a champ. You'll grow in your career, because that's what matters. Now let's talk about lunch and dinner meeting, right? So there is no time as such fixed. People just go on for like 90 minutes, 2 hours, and it's better to keep it like that. When you tell your customer that we are going for a lunch, don't tell him that we'll come back at 4 o'clock. Of course, he might tell by when we'll come back. He'll say, hey, until you have time, I have time. So always you should keep this a little open so that it becomes a little informal and planned as part of relationship building. To get to know each other. Don't try to put an agenda to this, right? Don't go and say that I'm going to discuss all the P1 tickets with my customer, in a lunch meeting, or with my teammate, or with my manager. Don't try to keep the agenda. If you keep the agenda, then the whole spirit is gone. Remember that some meeting should be used for certain purpose only, right? The lunch and dinner meeting is about relationship building. Don't try to bring all your office issues into that. Or even if he says, okay, tell me if you are facing any issues, still try to tell that, okay, why don't we finish this lunch and we'll meet some other time for that. Give that importance, that time, more importance for relationship building, right? And no major decisions or points are discussed, right? You're not going to ask the most toughest question or the most needed question when that person is having lunch or dinner, right? Official matters should be avoided as far as possible. You might be thinking I'm speaking other way around, but actually this is the truth. Nobody likes. Would you like if somebody pulls you into a lunch or a dinner meeting and tries to get all the answers which you never gave them, and is trying to pull all the strings up and, okay, let me get all the decisions while you're eating? Nobody likes, right? So try to keep it for relationship building. So remember that lunch or dinner meetings is for relationships. Team meetings is for team building and getting introduced to each other. Decisions should be part for formal meetings, right? Now, brown bag meeting. How many of you know what is brown bag meeting?
We often have brown bag meetings in our office, Lauren, with Pawan sir.
Yeah, brown bag meeting means you just continue with your snack or your lunch, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
either you get your own or you arrange for everybody, right? So brown bag meetings. I personally would not want to have brown bag meetings. Let me tell it very, very blunt, right? A lot of people don't like to have brown bag meetings unless it's an urgency. Okay, unless you could not find any other time in their calendar. Only time you found out is lunch, right? So when I used to work abroad, for a brown bag meeting, it used to cost me at least $200 because I would want to order a pizza or a pasta or a lasagna or a chips or salad or something like that. So that I tell them that, hey, I'm organizing this, why don't you all come over? Let's have lunch together and discuss, right? So people do expect you to pay when you take their lunch away, right? Unless it's a very, very dire project meeting where you're discussing project specific points, you can tell them, okay, get your lunch and, we'll meet together. But normally, it's a meeting that should be used only when there is a utter need for it. Don't take it for granted that anyways lunchtime is there, so I'll pull that fellow during lunchtime. No, that's not a right thing to do, right? So brown bag meeting falls into that. Usually 30 to 45 minutes, not more than that. During lunchtime, not a scheduled or recurring meeting. I said only during. You can't schedule brown bag meeting for the next 1 year and say every Friday during lunchtime we are meeting. That's nonsense. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that also. It's rude. And it's held only when there are no other options left to schedule and working meetings are scheduled. No big decisions are planned to be discussed, right? These are working meetings, meaning you want to draw on the drawing board, or some plan, some design, and more of a working, but you're not going to bombard with big decisions during brown bag meeting because people are not fully attentive, right? They're also eating. So you can expect 40% efficiency at the most, whereby they are giving their consent for certain things but don't expect to finalize everything in that meeting, right? And of course, virtual meetings, right? Whether it's audio or video conferencing or video conferencing. That's what we are doing today, right? Virtual meetings have become the need of the hour. So time duration can be like any other meeting. Everything is same, like any other meeting. Participants join virtually, yes, and extra time is needed to organize and track contributions. You cannot expect the same efficiency of doing a physical meeting and a virtual meeting. Okay, let me be very clear about it. No matter how much the technology grows, no matter how much you can see people on their screen, but still you cannot achieve the same amount of productivity and efficiency out of a virtual meeting. So what does it mean? Does it mean we should not have virtual meetings? No, you should budget a little more time, right? For example, in a physical meeting, if I think that it takes half an hour for me to achieve something, you should at least budget another 20%, like another 6 minutes, a 45 minutes meeting. So if you're planning for 1 hour meeting, normally for virtual, you should plan 1 hour, 15 minutes. I'm not saying meetings have to be long, but understand that it is difficult to achieve everything out of a virtual meeting. You have to track down who told what, and you have to write down their contributions, and you should know what exactly happened. Sometimes some people speak, it is not properly heard. So you need to reconfirm with them, right? So there are a lot of things that happens during virtual meetings. For example, one of the most important things that you should do in virtual meetings is reconfirm, right? That's the reason I keep asking, did you all understand? Did you all understand? Did you figure out what I'm trying to tell? This is very important. And I try to ask you to repeat it also. That's a good habit to have, right? So when you're speaking to your customer,
28 na?
Yeah, I'm muted. So basically, when you're speaking to your customer, it's not rude to repeat what he has told. It's a good thing actually. Some of the customer says, can you update me on the design document for that particular test scenario? Sorry, can you explain me something? I'm just going to put like, can you explain me the test case for that particular requirement? If he says like that. So your answer can be, so you are asking me to explain the test case for that requirement, and the answer is like that. You can start again. You are reiterating, you are reassuring that you have heard the question correctly. Did you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
In virtual meetings, I'm telling you, that's a very important technique. In physical meetings, you don't have to do that much. But in virtual meetings, it's very good to always re-summarize, or repeat in a very humble, respectful way, and make sure that the opposite person is exactly, you are going to tell what he needs, right? It's very important to repeat. So that's one aspect. So these are the different types of meetings and essential principles, that we should follow, right? Now let's go to parties to the meeting and their significance. Yeah. So parties to the meeting and their significance. Now, who are the different parties to the meetings? I want you to answer first, and then I will explain.
Clients.
Okay.
Employees.
Project manager.
Okay, but you're going with specific roles.
Employees.
I'm not talking about roles in a meeting. I'm talking about different types of parties or
Company
different
meeting?
set of audience. Or let me give one answer. Organizer. Right? There is one organizer to a meeting. And then there is one contributor to the meeting. And there is one decision maker in the meeting, right? When you organize a meeting, you call for folks, if you're speaking to somebody else, please mute. Please mute, okay? It kind of disturbs our discussion. Yeah. So different parties, so here are the 5 parties. Make it simple for you. I'm just going to tell you, okay? Without knowing the parties, you can't run it, right? So you need to know who are the parties. So essentially, organizer is one of the party. So when you enter a meeting, you should know who is the organizer. You can't just sit in the meeting not knowing who is the organizer, right? So the person who actually planned for the meeting is the organizer. The person who finalizes the agenda. Just imagine We all get into one meeting and everybody is defining their own agenda. You think the meeting will go anywhere? It will not go anywhere, right? So you should know who is the organizer of this meeting and who has the agenda. Sometimes you can even get up and ask in between the meeting, may I know what is the agenda of the meeting, because we are discussing so many things. Can I know? And who is the person who will get up and give that agenda? Organizer. Organizer is the one who will give that agenda to you. And usually he is the one who drives the meeting, because the organizer of the meeting knows what he wants to achieve. So if he sees that the meeting is going in a different direction where it is not supposed to go, he will stop it. He'll maneuver the whole meeting, and he will even drive the meeting and even conclude the meeting. And he finalizes the action points also. That is one of the most important things. So if you are the organizer, these are the things that you should do. You are the one who should plan for the meeting. You are the one who should finalize the agenda and communicate it maybe multiple times to the participants. And you should drive the meeting and finally finalize the action items, right? So who is another party in the meeting when there are, say, 10 people sitting in a room? So one person is the organizer. Who is another party? Decision maker, right? Tell me, what is the importance of having a decision maker in the meeting?
They'll guide the team members.
Do we need to have decision makers in the meeting?
Yes, of course.
Definitely. I mean, what is the point in having a meeting without the decision makers, right? As I told in the definition, we discussed on the definition of a meeting itself is to drive to a decision, right? So you should know, are the decision makers sitting in the meeting or not? For example, employees have some problems, right? They're all getting into one conference room and discussing. What is the use of all the employees just discussing if you don't have your main decision maker who is going to actually resolve those problems or who is going to comment on those problems, right? Say you have a production bug, and that means some change in the business process needed. You should have the business process user in your meeting, because he is the one who will finally confirm, okay, I'm going to change my business process according to your recommendation. So decision maker is very, very important to be there in the meeting, right? He's one of the most essential persons. He or it can be many, 2-3 decision makers. So when you get into a meeting, you should know who are going to give the decision. So your entire focus is towards providing information to the decision maker, so he makes the decision. Are you all understanding?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
When you enter a meeting, you should know who the decision makers are. Otherwise, you're just impressing people, talking to 10 people, it can be 50-member meeting also. But if you don't know who are the decision makers, then your entire point of conducting meeting itself is wrong, right? You should know, for example, when we get into some sales meetings, right? Pawan would know this better, right? I mean, when sales meetings happen, especially with customer, you would in advance know who are the decision makers. Oh, I'm going to present all my, proposal, but finally the decision maker is who? Even if there are 5 people sitting there, it's very important for you to know among these 5, who is that main person or main persons who are going to call the shots. Who are those people who are going to make decisions, right? So there can be more than one decision makers in the meeting. Whole meeting is conducted to get their decisions, right? A third point, they have the authority to reject or propose any changes. They are the main people. So that's the second category of people, in the meetings, right? One second. Yeah. So second party. Now, any other party? Now we have an organizer. An organizer is needed. Decision makers are needed. Can you guess anybody else? What other types of parties would you want to call to a meeting?
Contributor?
Yes, contributors. Now, contributors are essentially the people who have information, a lot of information, which they can present in front of the people attending the meeting, right? Like somebody who has been dealing with their system for a long time. You're going to discuss about system bug. So you want to make sure that the people who have experienced in that, using that system, are sitting there. So contributors. And you should know who are the contributors and who are the decision makers. Don't mix them up. right? Don't mix them up. Sometimes a contributor can also be the decision maker, but most of the time you should know who are the because you will engage them properly. For example, you are calling some very important people to your meeting, but you're not asking them any question only, or you're not allowing them to speak. That means a contributor who has come to the meeting is not able to contribute. You know what I'm saying? So you should know who is a contributor in this meeting. Yeah. So contributors, their contributions give data points to the decision makers, number one. Number two, they can be more than one. You know, they can be more. You can call as many contributors as possible. And everything needed for their input should be planned in advance, right? So this is very, very important. If you are the organizer, you should bring decision makers. You should also bring the contributors. And what all information is needed, you should plan in advance, you know, so the contributors can present it. Are you with me so far? Are you understanding what we are discussing here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Right? So whenever you call for a meeting, make sure that these three parties are pakka there, right? Let's go further. Reviewers. Now, reviewers means what? They evaluate the impact on other parties, right? For example, there are essential stakeholders in an organization who also should be informed so that they can review and get back, right? For example, in your IT scenario, when you're going to make a change in a system, who are the reviewers? The business users, right? The database administrators who maintain the databases. They all have to be brought into the meeting because they can review what you are discussing, right? They approve the standards and procedures being followed. They'll just review. Are you following the standards of this organization? Are you informing everybody in the right way? So they'll review, and is the change that you're going to bring going to affect these all systems? So they'll review and they'll tell their opinion. Did you understand the difference between reviewers and contributors? Or any questions we can discuss?
No questions.
Okay. Reviewers. And finally, the facilitators. Facilitators is very, very important. Now, who are these people? They help the organization to focus, the organizer to focus on driving the meeting, right? They help the organizer. For example, the organizer is busy calling the decision makers, calling the contributors, calling the reviewers. And whenever they speak, the organizer is like busy making everything happening. But the facilitators are some people that the organizer has to appoint who will write down the action points. Organizer himself cannot write the action points. Very difficult. Of course, he should also, but he should always appoint somebody in his team who will play the role of writing action points or important points, right? They have been noted down. So that the main organizer can focus on the meeting, right? So, my dear friends, if you, in future, whenever you organize a meeting, you have these 5 things taken care, and you know who is the organizer, if you are the organizer, who are your decision makers, who can contribute information to the decision makers, and who are the indirect parties who will get affected, who need to be reviewed, and who are the people who will help you while you conduct the meeting in terms of keeping everything into place. Right? Facilitate. It cannot not only about action items. Facilitators can even be about making sure the ambience in the hall remains nice, AC is on, you know, it's not getting off. There is no disturbance coming into the room. All these people who help you in organizing the meeting are facilitators. Now, do you understand the 5 essential parties and their significance in meetings?
Yes.
Let's spend a couple of minutes on questions. Do you have any questions on this? Or did I miss anybody? Out of your experience, you can share. Did I miss anybody? Now I'm going to tell you something. Right? So a lot of times we think that conducting meeting is just like calling people to one room and we try to get what they're speaking. Especially when you have to win like a sales deal, or you want to make a big change in the project schedule. These are big meetings, right? And when you organize them, you have to do a lot of things. Before the meeting itself. Number one, listing down all the list of decision makers is a very important thing. People who know how to find out who are the decision makers are the most successful people, right? So you should know who are the decision makers. You should list them down. And you should also list down who are the contributors. You should also list down in advance who are the reviewers. And you should also list down in advance who are the people who are going to help you. If you do this and then conduct a meeting, your chances of winning or achieving what you wanted to the meeting will be immensely different. Lot of people, they organize meetings without understanding the role of these important things. They start the meeting and then they realize, hey, you know what? Utna information nahi hai hamare paas. I don't have so much information. So I think we'll reschedule the meeting. That means what happened? They forgot to plan the contributors, right? Or you organize a meeting, too many things are discussed. Like, you know what? I'm totally confused. Why don't we reschedule? Why? Because there were no facilitators for you. You never, took help from anybody who take action items. There were too much for you to handle, right? Or you organize the whole meeting, and after the whole meeting, you get to know that your change, what you're trying to bring, is going to affect 5 other people. Those 5 reviewers are not there in this meeting. So which results in one more meeting. And let me also tell you, when you know these parties in advance, you can actually meet them before the meeting and make sure they understand why we are conducting this meeting, and also tell them in advance that you speak during this meeting. You can tell them, hey, we are going to discuss this. I don't want you to be silent. Please bring up those points that you told me before, right? And you can actually even make the decision makers and tell them the solution also in advance. You can tell the decision makers, hey, I'm organizing this meeting this Friday. By the way, these are the 2 options that you'll hear. What option do you think you like? And the decision maker may tell you in advance, I think at this point with the given information, the option 3 is good. So like that, you go to 3 decision makers. You already know that 3 of them are choosing option 3 and it's favorable for you. So then when you conduct the meeting gets over on time, because already the decision makers were told in advance and they were mentally prepared and some evaluation work is already done. So 99.99% your meeting will be a success because you already got the decision before the meeting itself. Especially when controversial meetings happen, when you're not sure who is going to bend on which side, it's good to know all these parties, contributors, reviewers, and decision makers, meet them before the meeting and try to finish the meeting before the meeting itself. Meeting just becomes a, like a ritual. Everybody comes together and just says, hi, hello, repeat the question, repeat the answer, and everybody says, okay, fine, and we leave. That's an amazing way of handling meetings. Lot of great people, great businessmen or great achievers in the corporate sector are the people who know how to handle this audience, this parties to the meeting, and they very well organize it even before. For example, if I want to get, I'm just giving an example, okay, in the spirit of understanding this. Say if you want to get a particular decision from Narendra Modi, right? Say just Narendra Modi is our prime minister. You want to get a particular decision from him. There are 2 choices, but you want him to take the first choice only. What do you think you will do to make it happen? How will you conduct that meeting with Narendra Modi so that you will make him choose the option 2 instead of option 1? Did you all understand the question? Okay. If I'm the one who is going to do it, before meeting Narendra Modi, I'll go and meet Yogi Adityanath, or I'll meet Amit Shah, right? And I will take their buy-in because I know that these are the people who are very close to Narendra Modi. I'm just giving you an example. Same thing can also apply to your customer place. Who is most close to that customer? Who are the people that customer relies on, right? So you take those people's buy-in even before the meeting. So Amit Shah agreed, Yogi Adityanath agreed, somebody else agreed, so 5 people agreed. Then you organize the meeting, and when Narendra Modi sits there, when you ask him to give the decision, he just looks around. He looks at whom? Whom does he look at? His essential people, and you already took their decision, so you win the meeting. You understanding this aspect of parties and how the party's importance and how you have to handle that?
Yes, before getting into meeting, we already win the meeting.
Exactly. That is the skill of organizing meeting. This is part of meeting etiquettes, right? And contributors also. Who are the people who will supply the information? If the meeting is about some medical field, you should have the director of NIMS or director of some big minister of health should be in that meeting. So you should know who are the people who should be there as contributors in that meeting, so that you will get your decisions fast.
Yes.
Come on, let's spend. May I request all of you to open your cameras for the next 30 seconds. Let me feel, what you felt about this meeting right now. I mean, what did you learn? Is this going in the right direction? Are you all learning something, or it's very theoretical? Yeah. I can see some faces. Yeah, you can also see each other. It feels nice to have faces in front, right? Yes. I can see more coming up one by one, coming and going. I don't know why they're coming and going.
we are in a very bad shape. That's why we are coming and going.
Don't worry. It's not about how you look. It's about how you present yourself. Right?
Yes.
So good. Now I'm speaking to people. Till now I'm speaking to the computer. So here is what I'm trying to tell. Okay, let me ask: did you understand this till now? What we discussed about meeting etiquettes, parties to the meeting, importance of the meeting, types of meeting. You got it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Am I going too fast, or the pace is okay?
No, it's fine, sir.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah. Now let's go to the next. Right. Now let's go to the next. This is about the parties to the meeting. Now we'll go to some examples of wrong actions and their consequences. This will be interesting. Okay, this will be interesting. I'm going to ask some good questions to all of you now. So, number one, wrong actions in meeting, consequences to organizer and consequences to participants. Now you have to answer this. Okay, let's keep the cameras on. Right, let's go one by one. Everybody in on mobile phones or laptops when the meeting started. Everybody is looking at their mobile phones like this, like this. What will happen? What is the consequence to the organizer, and what is the consequence on the participants?
They don't understand the exact meaning of that meeting actually.
If you are the organizer, how will you feel when nobody is looking at you? They're just looking at their mobile phones.
Obviously, we feel disappointed. Like we have to get into the meeting for some purpose, but it is not fulfilling.
Right? I mean, and most important, it's insulting, isn't it?
Yes.
Insulting. It's deeply insulting. You keep your mobile phone on, and you're not even valuing the other person. For example, this training session that we're conducting, who is going to benefit out of it? Me or you? Both. Actually, both. Right? Both are going to benefit. I'm also reiterating whatever I've experienced, but you should also show and give that much importance. Then only you'll benefit, right? When you don't show that importance to what you're doing, you cannot benefit out of it. So main important points are not considered for decisions, because if you are all on the mobile phone and laptop, you might miss out, right? And there will be surprises in the future meetings, right? For the participants, when nobody is paying attention in future. Did I tell that? I don't remember. This is what will happen, because you never heard only. You were never attentive in the meeting, right? Next, materials needed for the meeting is not ready. Is that a blunder?
Yes.
Yeah. What are the consequences? Agenda decided for the meeting cannot be achieved for the organizer, right? If you are the organizer, you don't have the material, you can't achieve that agenda. And future time will be wasted with future meetings, right? For so many people, because you never brought the full material. Now, third one you have to answer. Meeting room is not big enough to accommodate everyone.
We won't concentrate at all then.
Yeah, people will be very uncomfortable. right? I mean,
Yes.
they are just adjusting here and there, you know, they're barely in a comfortable situation to discuss. So future time is wasted. You know, decision makers and contributors may leave due to lack of space. People might just get up and leave, right? Because I'm not feeling comfortable. You know, there are too many people inside the room. Room is too small. So we have to plan for all these things in advance, right? Too many proxies in the meeting leading to no decision making. Proxy, you know who is a proxy, right? Proxy means you are not coming, so you send somebody else on your behalf,
Yes.
right? If there are too many proxies for everybody, then do you think the meeting will happen, like productively? No. There can be one proxy here and there. That's okay. But if everybody is a proxy, you know, you're sitting there and, you know, decision makers also did not come. They sent a proxy. Contributors did not come. They sent a proxy. Reviewers did not come. They sent a proxy. And worst part is your facilitators also sent proxies. People who are supposed to help you, they also, okay, you go and help him, right? It's a complete blunder. It will lead to future meetings and future time wasted. Meetings scheduled during holiday season and long weekends. Again, you know, if you schedule meetings on a Dasara evening, obviously you will not get any decision, right? I mean, you should think about it, right? So key participants will not be available, right? And future meeting again, future time will be wasted. Too early time for meeting or too late time for the meeting. Timing is like really, really horrible, right? I knew one customer in Denver when I was living in US in a place called Denver. There was a customer called Level 3 Consulting. In that the director, he would always organize a meeting 5:30 in the morning. 5:30 in the morning meeting will happen. And I would really wonder, you know, why does he do this nonsense? You know, once I literally told him that, you know, hey, I know you get up at 4 a.m., but not everybody does that. You know, you shouldn't organize at that time. Anyway, he laughed. He knows why he used to do, but some people don't know the etiquette of time. There is somebody who called me at 10:30 in the night. You know, I was literally just going to sleep, and somebody called me and said, "Sir, that printout, did you send it to me?" And I'm like, what nonsense? You know, this is not a time to discuss that. You know, so time etiquette is very, very important. Agenda decided for the meeting cannot be achieved because, you know, it's too early, or speak between and interrupting others, right? That's also a wrong thing. Difficult for the organizer to engage, and from a participant's perspective, they may not be able to convey their points clearly, right? So if everybody is talking in the meeting, that's also a problem. We should allow other people to speak, and then you should speak, right? So it's very, very important etiquette. And leaving the meeting without prior notice, right? See, this especially, very unprofessional people do this. They come to the meeting, they just leave whenever they want. See, the organizer has a plan in mind. He wants all the contributors to contribute. He wants all the reviewers to review, and then he wants the decision makers to give the decision, right? So he has a whole, pattern in which he wants to run the meeting. But just imagine the decision maker, he hears all the contributors, he hears all the reviewers, and then he says, I don't have time, we'll meet later, and he goes, right? I mean, he is supposed to stay and give the decision, but he leaves abruptly, right? Or, a contributor who is supposed to contribute leaves the meeting. Now, if a contributor leaves the meeting, how can the decision makers give the decision, right? So it's very important. You should know what your role is in that meeting, and you should stay till the end of the meeting. Guys, I'm telling you, if you don't do these things in your career, as an organizer, as a contributor, as a reviewer, or a decision maker, or even as a facilitator, you cannot really be in successful projects. These are very, very important things, right? And we should make it a habit of doing it. It should become your second language, like a second habit, which comes out naturally. That before going to a meeting, you should know what is my role in this meeting. Like, for example, tomorrow somebody calls you to a meeting. What are you going to ask him? What do you want from me? Am I a contributor? Am I a reviewer? Am I a facilitator? Or am I a decision maker? Right? You should know your role, and you should also make sure that you give the time qualitatively, so that you don't leave in between, and you're not doing anything else, and you're giving full attention to the organizer, right? So agenda decided cannot be achieved, and future time will be wasted, right? So these are all wrong examples, right? So let me tell you some very important thing. First impressions in the meetings. In 30 seconds, as soon as if you are the organizer, people will immediately judge you. What is your educational level? What is your social position? And your level of success in your career. In 30 seconds, they'll know just by your way of conducting the meeting. And in 4 minutes, around say the first 5 minutes, they will decide on how compassionate you are, trustworthy you are, reliable you are, how intelligent are you, how capable you are, how humble you are, how friendly you are. Everything will come into the face. So the first 5 minutes of the meeting are the most important time in the meeting. Are you with me? If you are not spending that first 5 minutes, in a proper spirit, you will be judged. Just imagine that you have made yourself, you have prepared everything, but in the first 5 minutes, you're not looking confident. People will leave. They'll get up and leave, or they'll say, this meeting another waste of time. They'll conclude on you. So the first 5 minutes are very, very important. 30 seconds first itself, that will tell you, how well you're organizing, how well you have your notes, how well you are bringing everybody to the same page. All that is very, very important. So the blunders people do is they don't pay attention in the first 5 minutes. Right? You can organize a great meeting after 5 minutes, but the problem is people have already concluded on you. Right? So the first 5 minutes are very, very important. Are you all with me? Any questions at this point?
So it's only applicable for the organizer or also for the decision maker and participant?
Mostly for the organizer. Yeah, that's a good question. Mostly for the organizer, but also as a contributor, you should, that whenever your first 5 minutes starts, right? When you're starting to contribute, your first dialogue is going to tell how good you are. Yeah. People will conclude on you. And then even if you try to change, it takes a lot of effort to change that impression.
Kind of first impression is the last impression.
It is, and it really matters, especially in business circles, especially in organizing meetings. It's very, very important. A lot of people don't know this, right? And they just do all the blunders. Yeah. Now let's go next. Pre-tasks. There are pre-tasks, there are during the meeting tasks, and there are post tasks, right? Now, this is a simple one. I'm not going to spend too much time. Rather, I'll ask one of you to read for each one of them, right? And because anyway, this presentation will be there for all of you to see, but these are like basic. So organizer, can one of you read the organizer's pre-tasks?
Yeah. For organizer.
Yeah.
Organizer, clarity on the agenda. Determine the role of this meeting in the overall plan of meetings. Understand the authority and role of each person being invited. Awareness of minimum expectations or engaging criteria of attendees. Review previous meeting notes and open tasks. Clarity on expectation from each attendee in the meeting. Sequence in which each attendee will be engaged. Do cross-cultural behavioral study of attendees. Make sure all key attendees have accepted the invite or you will waste time of others attending. Ask feedback at the end of the meeting from others.
These are self-explanatory points. Thank you. Thank you, Astha. So these are self-explanatory points, actually. Just by reading them, you'll understand. I want you to ask any questions if you have on any of them. Did you all understand all these points?
Clear. Yeah.
You know this. I mean, at least somebody who has worked in a corporate environment for 4 to 5 years definitely knows all these things. But we have to reiterate them that they're very important. One of the good points that I like is understand the authority and role of each person being invited. The third one, very important, right? So which category do they fall into? Contributors, reviewers, decision makers, facilitators, where they fall into, right? And another one is this awareness of minimum expectations, right? What is the minimum I want to achieve from this meeting? That should be very, very clear, right? Minimum, what I have to achieve. So you shouldn't be like too much jittered and you go wild after half an hour saying, I'm not achieving anything. No, at least write down. In this meeting, I want to achieve this, but if I cannot achieve this, at least what can I achieve? what less can I achieve, so that I can organize the next meeting again. So you're not too, your body language is not too negative. You're looking very positive throughout the meeting. You know what I'm saying? That's very, very important. And sequence in which you want each attendee to be engaged. That also in future you should plan. In future itself you should plan. Like I'll tell you, some of the tactics. This is not a meeting etiquette tactic, but I'm just telling you that, you know, sometimes when you want to win an important point, from a decision maker, you should also plan to lose some less important points. Right? This is also a strategy for the meeting. In advance itself, you should plan. Okay, for example, you say that. Okay, let's put an example for the office, just for fun sake, you know. So you want a table tennis table in the office, for example. You want a ping pong table in the office for refreshment, whatever, right? And then you go to the head of the office, and then you are speaking, and then you say, if you directly tell, I want the table tennis, he'll say no. We don't have space for that, and it will create a lot of noise, and he'll tell, you know, done. Instead, you can plan 4 things that you can forego, right? You can tell, can we have a big fridge? He'll say no. Okay. Can we have a big monitor? He'll say no. That's okay. So be ready for 4 no's, and then put the 5th point forward, saying that, can I have the ping pong table? He'll say no. I say, come on, you're rejecting everything. At least ping pong table you can give. Right? Actually, you never needed the first 4. You just wanted to make the opposite person feel that he has won something out of it. Right? And then you get the 5th point out. You're understanding what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
No, you didn't understand.
Yes.
Yeah. We do these things in our home also. You know, when you want to get some things from our wife or husband or parents, right? But you should be intelligent enough to use that at workplace also. You should not go with one thing and argue, you know, that if I don't get this, I'm done. Also be ready to lose some things. Be intelligent in putting forward some things that you should feel opposite person got some opportunity to say no. And then automatically for the 5th or 6th one, he'll say yes. And that 5th, 6th item should be your item. In the same way, even with the customer, when you're going for, say, change request discussion, right? You should ask change request for silly things. Ask change request silly things. 5 things silly. Then he'll say, hey, boss, what is this for little thing? Boss, for you, no problem. You know, I'm not asking any change request. For you, I'll do it. You know, all those 4 things are such a simple things. You would have anyway done, right? But you made sure that you're putting it forward, and you're telling that you'll. But the 5th one, the actual place where you want to get the change request, then you tell it, and he says, no, this is too much. Say, hey, boss, see, I have done all these things for you. I'm doing all these things for you. Now, this one you have to agree, right? This is the way you plan your meeting in advance. Are you following what I'm saying? Pre-task to the meeting. How are you going to plan? How are you going to win your battles? How are you going to present your point out? Did you follow?
Yes.
Too much silence in today's call. I don't know.
Yes, Lakshman.
Okay. Does anyone want to share any such scenario where you planned it and achieved what you wanted? Out of a meeting? Come on, folks. Let's make it fun.
Sir, I am planning to ask a ping pong table in the office. Can I achieve it?
That's how Lakshman is saying that how you can achieve it. How you are going to make place there.
Before that, you have to
office,
ask
right?
4 more things. Yes, ma'am. I'm in the office itself.
Ask for a library in office. They'll tell no.
Yeah.
Ask for a, what do you call that? If I'm you, I'll ask for a, I don't know, like a big screen with cable connection. So obviously, no. What nonsense are you asking? Yes, sir. No problem.
Theater in office.
Huh?
Like home theater. Like home theater.
Like home theater in office. They'll say, what nonsense? Go to your home. Okay.
Ask for a separate cabin.
Yes, of course, no.
We do have available right now. You can go there.
Now all the cabins are empty. You're most welcome to come and use.
My cabin.
Yeah. So you got the point, right? The pre-task.
Yes.
Is
sir.
organizing meetings fun, guys?
Yes.
It is
sir.
fun. Actually, it is fun. You know, when you know how to maneuver and win. See, my son, I have two sons, and they are very, very good in organizing meetings. Whenever the most sensitive thing they have to ask, they'll make sure that my wife is also there. Right? And I just have to say yes. I don't know what to do. Because if I tell no there, you know, then I'm in trouble. Right?
They know how to win the meeting.
They know how to win the meeting. Our children are very, very tactful and intelligent. So these are all meeting skills, right? So now let's come back. Okay. Yeah. So make sure all the key attendees have accepted the meeting. This is another very important thing. Accepting the meeting, pressing that accept button is the most difficult thing to do. Pressing the WhatsApp button is the most easiest thing to do. Pressing the accept button is the most difficult thing to do. How many agree with this? We don't have the culture in our country to accept a meeting. We feel that we'll be fined for that, or we'll be like ruined for that, sued for that. Please accept or reject. Do something. When a meeting request comes, either accept it or reject it. And when you decline it, there is something called as edit before you decline. Have you seen that option anytime?
Yes, we do.
You can actually propose a different time to the organizer, right? Or you can write that, you know, in my place, this person can be invited. I'm busy. In my place, this proxy can come. Or you can tell that I'm not comfortable with the agenda. Whatever you want to tell the organizer, you can do when you're declining. Don't just decline. Decline with the edit, right? So the organizer will try to do whatever is needed so that you can participate, or you can ask somebody else to participate. Are you all on the same page?
Yes.
Yeah. So the organizer has to make sure that the key people have accepted the meeting, right? Now let's come to the essentials of an attendee. What do you think? Come on, let's tell a couple of points. You know, what do you think the attendee has to be prepared before the meeting?
What's the meeting about? Just have the attendee should know what's the meeting is about. And is he want to be is he important to attend that meeting? Like, is he playing
very good point. Very good point.
In that meeting? So
how much time we have to sit in the meeting?
Yes. How much time are you going to give? Yes.
So what are the points he can contribute to the meeting?
Very good point. Yes. How can you be useful in that meeting?
Yeah.
Yes, as attendee. What else? Any preparations? Prepare all the data that you want to present, right? If you are being called to that meeting, you know why you're being called. You know the agenda is published. So you better go there and, you know, don't go there and tell, oh, next time when we meet, I'll bring the information. No, you should prepare that information before the meeting and go there and present it. Right? When you know the agenda, you'll be prepared with your answers. Or you can tell the organizer, hey, let me tell you in advance that I may not be able to gather all the information. I only have time to gather 50% of the information. So based on that, the organizer might delay the meeting by another 3 days or 2 days, so that he'll make sure that you are ready with your 100% information. Right? So can I request somebody to read this? 1 second. 5 points.
Yes. The pre-tasks for attendee. Clarify any question on agenda. Ask the organizer his expectations. Prepare answer for anticipated questions. Review previous action items. Propose anyone else needed for decision making to the organizer.
Very, very nice points, right? The last one. If you think that that organizer has not called somebody, you can even tell the organizer, hey, you should call this person. If you don't call this person, you know, I don't think you have the right people in the meeting. You can even contribute that way. Or if you had an action item in the previous meeting, you be prepared to review it, right, before you get into the meeting. Now, just see this, the body language. Body language really matters, in the meetings. This is generally, the people sit in different body languages. If somebody is sitting like this, with the legs on and with little laid back, this person is going to be judging you in the meeting, meaning he will create some difficult moments for you in the meeting. And if somebody is sitting like this, both the legs this side, that side, holding the chair other way around, he's sitting there simply to argue. You can expect that this fellow is only going to argue. Whatever you will tell, he'll argue for you. He'll not object, but he'll argue. And some people, if they're relaxing and sitting, they're very casual of the meeting. They don't really feel that your meeting is important, right? So these are some body languages. You can do a lot of research on this when you go to internet and say body languages in corporate, right? You'll be shocked to see that so many things can be known about you just with your body language. You may not even convey it. You may not even convey it, but the organizer will know that this fellow is not in a right state of mind for this meeting, right? Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's very important. Now, for the organizer, tasks for the organizer, right? Yeah, pre-tasks, and this one is task when the meeting is in progress for the organizer. Number one, first thing that we should do. Now, this one will go one by one, okay, one by one point. First thing you should do when you organize a meeting is announce the agenda. At the beginning of the meeting, announce the agenda. Very, very important. Next, explain the division of time slots. So you tell in advance itself. So my dear friends, first 10 minutes we'll discuss about the problem statement. Then I will allow the contributors, Mr. XYZ, to put forward their points. And then I'll ask the affected parties, the reviewers, to tell if it is affecting them. And the next 5 minutes, I will just summarize everything. And the next 10 minutes, decision makers, you can give your decision. So around 40 minutes down the line, we'll have Q&A. So you're setting a time slot throughout the meeting. You're in advance. In advance, you're telling them what to expect. I'm telling you, it really works. If you don't do this, the contributor starts speaking, the reviewer starts objecting, the decision maker says this nonsense, and gone. People will just talk everything, and the meeting is completely. Everybody should get their chance to put forward their complete information. So you have to time slot the meeting. Even if it's a 10 minutes meeting, you should time slot it 5 minutes for this, 5 minutes for this, and then you'll achieve a lot more. Did you understand what I said? Any questions on that?
No.
Don't be late to your meeting yourself. I was worried today, actually. I was almost getting late to my meeting. 2 o'clock was supposed to be there. And I came at 1:55, a traffic jam. And then my system, it became so slow, I had to restart it. And then I saw Swati's ping. Lakshman, good afternoon. Are you there? I'm coming. Right. So you shouldn't be late to your own meeting. One of the most, because that means you are not valuing the time of others. Right. Next, concentrate on one task at a time and maintain a tracker. Always have a tracker for your meeting. What are the things you have discussed? What is the final conclusion of all the things that you discussed? What are the open items? And who is assigned to those open items? And what is the ETA, earliest arrival time, for closing those items? Right? And what is the help that they need to finish those tasks? So you should have a proper organizer. To get full attention of the attendees, you have to, during the meeting, you can't, there are some people, they don't look into people's eyes when they speak. They're like, okay, so we are all here, so we'll discuss. Like that. That's nonsense. That's not a way to conduct a meeting. You should look at people. You should look into their eyes while you speak. Eyes, the true living thing inside you, it can be seen only through your eyes. Every other part of the body is dead, right? Like a dead body. You and dead body are no different, except the life in the eyes. So if your eyes are not seen clearly, when you're speaking, or you are telling somebody, they don't look at your eyes, it's 90% communication is not done. 90% communication not done. Eye contact is the most important, and eye contact with everybody is most important. You should try to put an eye contact everywhere, right? So what is the time? Let me have a time check. Oh. What is the time? My mobile got charged off, so I don't know the time.
3:28.
3:28.
3:28. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we are going a little late than I thought. But let us see how much we'll be able to finish. Yeah. So getting full attention of all the attendees. You can't look at one side of the call and just speak this side. You have to have a habit of speaking to everybody in the room. And actually, one of the communication skills is you have to walk towards, people also. When it's a big hall, you're speaking. It's okay to walk. Just walk by, make a round and come back. You look at everybody. You have to gain that attention of everybody when you're speaking, and lay out cross dependency points between parties and establish a sequence of events. When you do something, multiple people get affected. So you have to write down who are the people getting affected and what, right? Clearly outline the tasks to whom they are assigned. Again, as I said, a tracker, right? Outline the criteria for the next review meeting and engage everyone after calling to the meeting, right? When you call everybody, you should also engage them. It's not like, you call them, but you're not even asking a single question. Why did you call them? Next time they'll not come, right? You should not call people whom you're not going to engage. Very important thing. Remember that. If you're calling them, then there should be some point where they are supposed to be engaged. Or even if they are not talking, you can tell them, I called you. So in case you find any important point that we are not addressing, you can let us know. So they feel importance. Yeah, we know why we have come to the meeting. And don't allow anyone else to take over the meeting with a different agenda, right? When you are running the meeting, you better tell everybody who is trying to take in a different agenda. They're trying to hijack your meeting, into their meeting, right? You want to discuss the production issues, and this person discusses about future enhancements. No, the future enhancements can be a different discussion. This is production issues right now. So you should know who is speaking what and how they are not hijacking your meeting. You understood? And known blunders, right? Nobody's focused. Everybody is, somebody's writing, somebody's, I'm so behind my actual work. Somebody's thinking, why did I come to the meeting? So you should make sure that everybody is attentive and everybody is giving importance to the meeting, right? Yeah. Tasks when the meeting is in progress for the attendee. We discussed about the organizer, right? For the attendee, when the meeting is in progress, obviously you have to pay attention. Introduce yourself before the meeting starts. Yeah. Somebody is asking a question.
Yeah, I just like to add a point for the organizer thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like for organizer, for knowing the attendee is present or not, he can pose some questions or ask some questions or responses from their side to know who actually listens to his words.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's very, very important. You have to engage everybody you have brought, and you have to tell them, you have to give them an opportunity to fully present each one of the attendees, and you should even sequence their tasks, right?
Yes.
That way you really are successful in your meeting. Yeah. So attendee should introduce himself. Sometimes, for example, you don't know anybody in the meeting room. Either the organizer introduces you or you introduce yourself. Like, for example, if he says, okay, Lakshman talk, I will not just talking immediately, right? Immediately I'll say, hey, I'm Lakshman, I head the finance here, and this is why I'm here, and this is my contribution. So if some people in the room don't know who you are, they get introduced. Very important. As attendee, you should introduce yourself. Next, you should, one second. Yeah. Concentrate on one task at a time. Don't talk everything, right? Take one at a time. Be an active participant. Follow the right dress code as per corporate norms, right? Whatever it is, right? Follow the right, everybody feels comfortable. Don't take calls and make other calls while in the meeting. Very important. If I'm getting a call, I would just want to switch off. 1 second. I would rather switch off my mobile, instead of owning it. If I'm going to get a call and disturb me, right? And bring visiting cards to the meeting. It's a good idea to have a visiting card. We don't have a culture of giving visiting cards, but we should have that. It makes a difference giving something physical, right? Pay attention to the names. See, what I do when the organizer is telling about everybody in the meeting, I'll immediately take my book and write down all the people who are attending the meeting. I don't know how many of you have that habit of writing down who are all there in the meeting, at least the key people. whenever, so that next time when you're speaking to them, you address them with name. And when you address somebody with name, he'll be very, very impressed, and you will get your point, go forward very cleanly. Yeah. Keep a notes book ready. Make all your notes, very important. Keep your availability calendar handy so that you can tell, hey, when you're organizing sometimes what the organizer does, before he wraps up, he asks everybody, when can we meet again? Can I schedule next Tuesday? So immediately, you as attendee should be able to look at your calendar and say, yeah, I think you can. So that he sends a request and you accept it. Even before you accepted the meeting, you already gave a go ahead, right? So that's a very important thing. You should know your calendar. Don't hijack the meeting of others. Allow the host to continue, and no other second talk is going on parallel. Like your organizer is speaking and somebody is speaking and you are speaking to your neighbor. Absolutely not. People have this bad habit of talking in between the meeting. And at least if you want to talk something important, you either can go outside, talk and come back, or you can tell the organizer, can we also discuss this with this person? Like that. It's very, very important. Make note of your questions till the end, right? So blunders, you don't want people distracted. Look at these attendees. How are these attendees, right? Nobody's paying attention to the organizer. Organizer are writing something. This fellow is drinking coffee. She's talking to somebody. These both people are talking to each other. These people are running the laptop. Somebody's looking at a pamphlet. This fellow is yawning. It's completely a horrible meeting, So as attendee, you don't want to do that, right? Now, communication tips while in the meeting, right? While in the meeting, some communication tips. Listen to others, very important, right? We should listen to others when we are in the meeting. Next, objecting in a non-offending manner. When you want to object something, you can object in a very respectful way. I gave some examples. I see your point, but I think if we do like this, that's a very nice use. So you positively say that I've heard you, but what do you think about this? It's a good question. It's a good suggestion. However, like that, you can tell your point. I'm afraid I don't think that's a good idea, but how about this? So you can object, but in a very respectful way. Be assertive when needed, right? Say no. If you have to say no, right? Be clear and concise. Keep always the bigger picture in first. Why is this person organizing this meeting? Why is he putting these points forward? And I should know how I can contribute, right? So be very clear and concise in your answer. Look out for the subtext, right? Reading between the lines. Sometimes people don't say what they want to say directly. They will say through two, 3 lines. So be attentive. Be very attentive to what people are speaking. You can't tell that you didn't tell me that, right? So if you are very attentive to the meeting, you yourself are helping the organizer not to organize another meeting. If you are not attentive in the meeting, you are forcing the organizer to organize another meeting, right? So we should know that. Smile, be positive. Yes, don't interrupt the person when he's speaking. Unless there is a good reason, don't interrupt when people are saying some things. To get the right answers, ask the right questions, right? If the way you question is what you get as an answer. Garbage out, garbage out, garbage in, right? So whatever you send out is the garbage that comes in also. So if your question is wrong, answer also will be wrong. Use gestures, maintaining eye contact, right? Body language really matters. Always maintain eye contact with everybody for that matter. Respect others, give respect, earn respect. Nobody likes dictators. Even if you're the organizer, nobody likes dictators. People want to be respected. So after completion, now we are almost at the end, right? So what are the tasks for the organizer at the time of completion? Number 1, he thanks everyone. Be grateful. Be grateful. Folks, I'm telling you, even if you are the CEO of the company, at the end, you should say, thank you, my dear employees, for coming and attending this meeting. Makes a big difference. Nobody likes, to be authoritative. Nobody likes authoritative people. People like people who are humble and respectful, right? So thank everyone. Schedule any follow-up meetings right there. Before you end the meeting, make sure you have already taken commitment for the next meeting if it is needed. Don't go outside and again send a meeting request thinking about it. I mean, sometimes it happens, but most of the time, you should schedule the next meeting when you're ending this meeting. Did you understand this point?
Yes, sir.
It's very, very essential.
Yes, sir.
Make sure there are no unclarified doubts hampering progress. Make sure, it's okay. See, for example, sometimes you want to discuss 10 things, but the goal is not to finish 10 things. Goal is to make sure all the 10 things are properly understood, right? So even if you finish 5, that's good. As long as you don't repeat those 5 again, right? So be very, very clear in clarifying all the doubts. Schedule the next meeting immediately. Follow up and inquiry for any help needed, right? Announce to all the parties any change to the cross-dependent tasks. Whatever later on you found out that this is cross-dependent, some things have changed, you should immediately announce. Everybody, never reply to some people in the meeting, reply to all, right? Because everybody whom you brought to that meeting should know if you're changing anything. A lot of people have this bad habit of removing people when they reply all. I mean, unless it's very much needed to remove somebody, you should remove. Otherwise, that particular meeting request was sent for a purpose and all those people are involved. So if you are changing something, you better include everybody, because see, the organizer will feel that if you have replied to his meeting request, you have actually given the answer to everybody and everybody knows, everybody on the same page. But if you start removing people, adding people sometimes is okay. You should, for adding also, you should ask the permission of the organizer. Unless it's like somebody really weird or stranger you're adding. Otherwise, you should always never remove anybody from that meeting chain. Document things which have been spoken in the meeting. Yes, as an organizer, do not raise points which should have been reasonably brought up in the meeting, right? So whatever you are supposed to talk in the meeting, don't raise the points after the meeting, right? So you should raise it at the beginning. Finish the task as agreed in the meeting and keep everyone informed. Remind the goal agenda which was established in previous meetings, right? Remind the goal always, so that people are not defocused, right? People are not defocused. Yeah, maintain an open item and action list. That's a very important thing. For the attendee, after completion, maintain a track of the action items assigned to him, right? If somebody has assigned any items to you, you have to maintain the track and make sure that you achieve those dates. And send a periodic update. If you have made any progress on those points that the organizer assigned you, you should give a periodic update. That helps him in organizing the next meeting. Ask for any help needed to finish the assigned tasks. After the meeting, don't ask. Ask during the meeting itself that, hey, you assigned me this task, but I need help, right? As much as possible, try to get everybody on the same page in terms of what you accepted and what you have not. Right? Special considerations for organizing conference calls. Of course, now we are doing most conference calls online. So specifically for conference calls, there are some items. I think you already know this. So I'm just going to read it, or can I ask somebody to read the do's slowly, one by one, not like a laundry list, one by one. Give a 5-second pause and read the next one. Somebody new.
Speak loudly.
Who's speaking?
Astha.
Astha, I think you read already.
Speak loudly and clearly.
Yeah.
Ask for input by using a person's name.
Yes.
Do learn to use the mute button.
Yes.
Do get comfortable with the fact you will be talking in front of a group and receiving no visual cues or feedbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Do use the right phone in a quiet, undisturbed room. Do make use of guest speakers.
Right. So these are the do's, the things that you should do in the conference call. Now I want somebody else to speak the don'ts. Can I ask a male member in the group to speak?
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
Don't use cell phones or phones that pick up background noise.
Mm-hmm.
Second, don't assume everyone recognize your voice. Third, don't allow the topic to wander. Fourth, don't shuffle papers, scrap chairs, pencil tap, hum or other distracting noisy activities.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth, if you don't have anything to add, don't add anything. Sixth, don't leave the conference on mute and go for short breaks.
Right. So you join the meeting, you keep it on mute, shut off the camera, and then go outside on a break. That's not a way to do things, right? So I think these are like basics. These are like basics which, out of courtesy, we should follow, and out of respect, we should not repeat some of the don'ts, right? So I'll just go to the next one. Some Q&A, for our meeting etiquette, right? So I'm going to ask some case. I'm going to put a case, and you have to tell what is the right answer. Are you all ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's participate for this. Little easy ones, don't worry, simple ones. Okay, my boss, Mr. Ambani, enters the room when I am in a meeting with an important client, Mr. Desai. Okay, so you are meeting Mr. Desai, he's a client, and Mr. Ambani came into the room. I rise and say, Mr. Ambani, I would like you to meet Mr. Desai, our client from Mumbai. Is this introduction correct?
No.
Is it a right thing to do or a wrong thing to do, or do you see it's okay, or it can be right also?
It can be right when you have a good
Depending on situation.
It is like more casual.
Casual, yes.
General corporate etiquette says, the senior most person has to be introduced first. Here, Mr. Desai is your customer, but Mr. Ambani is the CEO of the company. He's a big guy also, not like an ordinary person. So you should not tell Mr. Ambani, meet Desai. You should tell Mr. Desai, here is our CEO, Mr. Ambani. Got it? It's a very important thing. When a customer place or any place, you should know who is the most important or senior person. And you should introduce them accordingly. Not that Mr. Ambani will feel bad, but the etiquette is when there is somebody senior, even if it's your company or their company, you should introduce them first to everybody, and then introduce others to him. You follow?
Yes.
Yeah. Next, at a social function, I meet the CEO of an important corporation at a social function. After a brief chat, I give him a business card. Is this correct?
No.
No. Definitely no. No. Please don't spoil his mood in a social function. Unless he asks or he exchanges, you don't give it. If he gives his business card, you give it. Otherwise, no. If you are impressive in your behavior, he will remember you and look out for you. Don't look desperate. Don't look desperate. As soon as you see somebody, okay, here is my card. Please call me. I think I need you. Don't do that in a social function. Be nice. Be speak. If he's and you can get his contact to some other means. You can speak to him later, but don't become too desperate. These are all meeting etiquettes. These are all very essential meeting etiquettes, right? Let's go to the next one. I'm entering a cab with an important client. I enter first myself and asking the client to seat on my left. Is this correct? Well, depends on the right drive or the left drive. You should make sure that he should be able to get down comfortably, right? You should allow him to sit at a side from where he can get down comfortably. That's the answer. Small things, but big things, they really matter, right? Let's go for a few more, not much. I'm greeting or saying goodbye to someone. When is the proper time to shake their hand? When I'm getting introduced, or I'm at their home, or at their office, or on the street, or when I say goodbye? When should I shake my hands with them?
I think at their office.
Okay. So if you're meeting them on the road, you will not?
When I'm introduced and when I say goodbye, might be two answers.
Okay, I'll make it easy for you. At all times, you can shake the hand. That's not a problem. But when you do it, don't do it in a painful way.
Nowadays, nobody is shaking hands there for Corona.
Yeah, and that's a good thing, right? I mean, you can show that your punch like this, or actually the most elegant way, our great Sanatan Dharma has taught is
Yes,
namaste.
namaskar. Yes.
Very, 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 very elegant way, right? Which now foreign countries are learning, which we have been doing for ages. Yeah. Let's go to the next one. I am talking with a group of 4 people with whom I should have eye contact. With the person to whom I am speaking at the moment, each of the 4 moving your eye contact from one to another, no one particular person with all or anyone else, or anyone's eyes you can maintain. Whom should I maintain eye contact with? Person I'm speaking to?
Or making your eye contact from one to another, because we have to keep in mind what we speak. So we have to observe every other person who is in that.
It's a very important thing. Make eye contact with all the individuals you're talking with. This can be done with practice. You can actually do it, right? Of course, when somebody is speaking to you, make sure that you're seeing him. At the same time, don't miss out on others. Don't miss out on others. If you are going to miss out on others, that other person will take this person away, right? You have to make sure everybody is engaged. It's a very important thing, right? Let's go to the next one. I have forgotten a lunch with a business associate. I feel terrible and know that he's furious. Do I write a letter of apology or send flowers or keep quiet and hope he forgets it, or call and set up another appointment? What should I do?
Call and explain the things and set up another appointment.
Yes, that's a very important thing. Yes, D. You should make sure, yeah, you want to apologize, that's okay. But then write an apology letter, send flowers, all that is, you wanted to meet him for a meeting. He gave his time, you forgot, right? So you should make sure that you schedule another, you give some options to schedule another meeting with him. That will make him peaceful. And also apologize, right? You should not forget to apologize that I'm sorry, completely forgot, I couldn't make it. Two people in the business are being introduced. Technically, who should extend his or her hand first? The person of less authority, the person of greater authority, or either way, it does not matter in business. Who should extend his hands first? Boss should extend to the subordinate, or subordinate should extend to the boss? Difficult one?
Yes, it depends on the rapport.
Person with greater authority should always extend the hand. Remember that. If you are a senior, you should extend the hand first. That's your minimum etiquette. A lot of people, they feel arrogant when they become a manager. Why will I shake hand? People should come forward to me. No, the more upper you go, the more humbler you should become. That is called servant leadership, right? When you set with an example, when you're approachable, when you're respectful to your juniors. I can tell you one thing. A manager who is rude to his juniors is never deserving to be that manager. At least you should not become that manager who is rude. Of course, at workplace, when you don't finish some task, it has to be done. There has to be a strict instruction given. That's fine. But rude behavior, not acceptable. That's not being a manager, right? Manager means somebody who organizes everything, facilitates, empowers, and motivates, and sets an example with his own example, right? He also works like that and sets it there. So that's a manager. So always, be humble in your behavior. Try to put forward your attempt first to, shake hands or to be available and to be accessible, right? So there are many more. Actually, I had 5-6 more slides like this, but I removed all of them because there is not much time. So let's just summarize and conclude for now. So we can take at least a couple of questions at the end, right? To summary, contents, what did we cover in the seminar? We covered importance of meetings. Did we cover? At the beginning, I had mentioned, right?
Yes.
And we covered the types of meetings. We covered, yes. And
Yes.
parties to the meeting and significance, we did cover. Wrong actions in meetings and their consequences, yes, I think we covered. Pre-meeting, during meeting, and post-meeting etiquettes, we covered, right? And tips to effective communication, yes, we covered, in terms of be more vocal, be available. And I think we also did some quizzes to evaluate. So we did achieve our objective today, right?
Yes.
So this way of concluding is also a meeting etiquette, I wanted to tell you. Right? The way I'm concluding is also meeting etiquette. You're making sure everybody who participated understands that you have achieved the goal.
Yes.
This is also part of meeting etiquette. You don't have to put a tick and show, but at least repeat, that this was my goal. This was my agenda. I think we finished, tack. These all things we finished. This one thing is missing. Maybe we'll connect again for that. Or I don't need everybody for that. I can just connect with him directly. I'll keep you all informed, whatever it is. So that's the way you conclude. Concluding a meeting is very, very important, and reiterating what all you achieved, right? So now I'm going to tell you golden rules. Treat others as you like to be treated. most golden rule. You don't need to be educated for knowing this. If you want others to treat you nicely, you have to treat others in the same way in the meetings, right? Next, platinum rule, even better than that, is treat others as they would want to be treated, right? Number one is you treat the way you want to be treated. Now, next one is treat them that they want to be treated. Now, they want to be treated in a certain way. You better treat them like that. Like, for example, sometimes when my customer is to come to India, when I was doing on the IT side, he told me, I want to see, traditional, I like your traditional way and this and that. So I told the entire office, at least the project team, I told everybody come in traditional dresses. Don't come in formals. This, whatever, the pant shirt. You think foreigners don't know how to wear formals, or they've not seen enough formals? They've seen. They want to see the traditional side of India. And they may not have time to go around everywhere. They're coming to your office. Everybody come in saris and kurta pajamas. The dhoti also you wear and come. Let the customer feel nice, right? And the moment he came, he said, Lakshman, what is this? Is this the way you are in the office? I said, yeah, you like to see us traditional. So today we made it like a festival. He was so happy, right? Treat people the way they want to be treated, the way they want to, that really is the greatest thing, right? The way you treat people is not about who they are, but rather it's all about who you are, right? Very important. If you know how to treat people, that shows your reflection, right? That shows your reflection. How much you value others can be known by how you treat them in meetings, right? Whether they are a contributor, whether they're a facilitator, etc., right? Personal homework. I'm going to give you homework to all of you now, right? This was not part of the deal, but I thought I will. Will you all do some homework?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, it'll help you. It'll help you. Okay. Number one. Have you had an experience where one of your bosses or co-workers did not show professional etiquette? If so, what happened and how did you respond? Right? Did you understand the question?
Yes.
Yeah. I want you to write down if somebody did not show as per what we discussed, and how did you respond to that? Right? When you write it, it makes you think. It makes you think everything, right? So that's the reason I'm asking you to write it. I'm telling you, if you write this answer, you don't have to show me or show anybody. It'll make a big difference. The entire seminar will come alive in front of your eyes. Right? Next one. What qualities in your eyes are good indicators that a person is acting professionally? What do you think? The moment you look at him, he's acting professionally. What qualities do you look for? Are there any specific people in your life who do this well, right? Or in your office, you see that these qualities are very exemplifying in this particular person. So I want you to look for that positive person in the office, like a role model in the office, or even on your past history. Who are those people, right? Third, how well do you think our generation is doing with regard to acting professionally, and why? Right? Your generation, whichever generation you are in. How well do you think you're acting professionally? Are you acting professionally, and why? What is the motto behind, right? So do this. It is a good introspective exercise on yourself of how you will behave in your future, right? So this meeting is obviously getting recorded, and Swati will share the link in case you want to go through it again. So I hope it was useful for you. So I'll take a quick Q&A if you have any questions, or we can wrap up.
So I do have a question.
Yes.
So what should be the proper body postures and body language of a attendee? So as for a organizer to be in a meeting.
Okay, I hope the camera accommodates me to say that, but okay. See, always keep your hands available. Your hand should be available. You shouldn't be holding like this.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Keep your hands available. You're keeping both your hands like straight like this, right? Like this is a good posture.
Yeah, okay.
As an attendee. Body language means you're ready to hear, or you hold a pen. You hold a pen and a paper. Yes, you're ready to pay importance, pay attention to what the organizer is speaking, right?
Okay.
And as an organizer, don't put your hands in your pockets. If you're standing, don't put your hands in your pockets. And especially in the West, if you're speaking to a Westerner, never do this. Never do this. They don't like it when you do this. You might think, but this is normal in India, right? We do it. No. In front of a Westerner, or especially in big corporates, never. This means you are very closed-minded. I don't want to hear anything. I already know the answer. I don't care what you speak. You know what I'm saying?
Not ready to accept things.
Not ready to accept things, right? So everything matters in your body language. Actually, if you go to internet, now there are a lot of tools that teach you how to behave, body language per se, in a meeting or in an essential discussion. They will tell you there are a lot of things. In fact, there is a session that we'll do on the oral communication. That will also include body communication. Don't miss that session. Remember the tree that I showed you?
Yeah.
The tree of communication. One of them is oral communication and body language also. Of course, I'm not going to teach you all the body languages, but you have to do your own research. There is a lot of material on YouTube and on body language. Positive body language. You can write the positive body language. You'll find a lot of things. Most important thing, as I told you, the entire body is a dead body. The only thing that looks alive is your eyes.
Eyes.
Yeah.
Right? Make sure you have eye contact. Make sure you have eye contact. Whoever speaking, anybody, eye to eye contact. It should be there. Don't wear a goggle, and sit in a meeting. That's nonsense, Throw the goggles outside. People should see your eyes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? There might be seniors in the call who can also contribute. What, Swati, how did you feel today's seminar is? Useful?
And team members will start actually responding to invite emails, start coming on time. And I'm very sure, and I'm looking forward for people to take this homework. Or else, if to help you out, I can actually send it on Microsoft form also.
My dear friends, these seminars are specifically organized because we want to help you all to become better leaders for future. I'm sure none of you will retire in Lorhan. Let me be very blunt about it, right? We want you to grow in Lorhan and outside Lorhan, wherever you go, right? And we want you to carry some great skills when you go to the next levels, right? And like the way I'm conducting the seminars to you, I want you to come to conduct the seminars to your juniors in future, or even peers in future, right? So this experience has to flow, and we should help each other. The greatest asset is experience, right? So we do have several things planned. I'm on time, by the way, or little away from time. I don't know. Half an hour I took your time more. So I hope it was useful for all of you. And I'm seeing some of the participants are very vocal. I'm very grateful to Sujana, Astha, and a few other names that I couldn't capture when you were speaking. But I also want everybody to speak up, please. This meetings, it should be like, we are in a journey, by the way. You like it or not, you have to see my face every Friday, whether you like it or not. So why not see it with a smile? Why not, let this be a journey of learning and a happy sharing. What do you all say? I don't know. Sometimes I can't even hear a laugh or a joke. Swati? What should we do with them?
They might be smiling and laughing inside.
Inside,
Inside, yeah.
What is that movie?
Yeah.
There is the old Telugu movie.
Race
Guram,
Hassan
right?
says
that.
So she keep like getting scared inside, laughing inside. So all the expressions and all their emotions, they might be showing it inside or like in a mute mode.
Okay. So without any more delay, thank you very much for coming. And I hope that you have a nice weekend planned. There is Janmashtami coming up. I don't know if you're going to celebrate. Monday is Janmashtami. and appearance day of Lord Krishna. I'm going to have a great time. If you have some cows around your place, go there, serve them, give them some grass, or spend some time with them. Make your children dress like Krishna, make your daughters dress like Radha, make your home into a festival, and have a wonderful time in the coming days.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And for wonderful sessions.
Thank you so much, Lakshman sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all the participants.
So much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you.
Fatima.
Thank you, sir.